Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today's video I'm going to talk about one of the main misconceptions when people work abroad. Let's do it. And one of the things I've certainly found, and I've seen this not just in the Filipino culture, but I've seen this in some of the South American cultures and other places, is that the American ATM syndrome, as I call it, drops in. Now, what this syndrome is because someone is working overseas and necessarily they may be making quite a bit of money, at least a lot of money compared to what they would be in their native country. What happens? Lots of people seem to crawl out of the woodwork and start asking for money for this and that and the other thing. And it's not right. It's completely below the belt and not right. Just because you're working overseas and you may or may not have a fairly decent job does not actually mean you have bags and bags of money to give to, every single person that may be remotely related to you. Now, I'm not saying you don't support your parents or you don't support your very close relatives during an emergency, but when your long-lost cousin sends you a message that he desperately needs to buy a pig or something, then you know what? That's not, first, it's not an emergency. Second, you're barely related to him. That's not really a valid reason to send money overseas. And when you do this, it's going to be like 1,000 cuts will kill you, basically, if you think about it. Because everybody's going to want a little bit of money from you for this, that, next thing, and the other thing. And before long, they're going to be as rich, and you're going to be broke. So the person that's making all the money, the person that's doing all the hard work, is going to be broke. And there's going to be a bunch of people who don't really have to work in the other country. That doesn't really make much sense. It really comes down to looking after yourself first. Because when you're working in a foreign country, you're going to have bills, you're going to have rent, and you're going to have bills and rent which are going to be way bigger than the other country. And in some circumstances, you may be even running 2 or 3 houses. Because you have to run your house in your foreign country, and you have to run a house that you're renting in the country you're working in. It's not that easy. Plus, your phone bill is going to be bigger than what some people make in your home country in a year. It's not that easy. We have to put things in perspective here. Yes, you may make a lot, but you're also going to have very high bills. And that doesn't mean that you have to send every penny you have overseas, because sooner or later, if you keep doing that, you're going to be living under a bridge down the street. I'm being honest with you. That's what's going to happen to you. And then you're going to lose your job, and then you're going to go back to where you came from. How much sense is that? I am not saying in this video you do not support the people you love. Support the people you love. But I'm saying is that when people show up out of nowhere with crazy financial demands that, it's their daughter or their brother's birthday, or, it's something. Hey, for that, I got a news for you. Birthdays happen at the same time every year. I checked, okay? It didn't come by surprise. They could have saved up for it. If they didn't save up for it, they're pretty darn stupid. Come on. The same goes for Christmas and Christmas presents. If they don't have any Christmas presents for their kids, well, I hate to say it, they had 12 months to prepare for it. I know emergencies may have come up, and I feel sorry for the people who have emergencies and family crises that come up. But understand, you not have to give your kids this massive blowout Christmas if you have emergencies come up. And you've also had 12 months to plan for Christmas. I honestly think this problem kind of spreads like a virus. So, one person in the family maybe gets a good job and starts making decent money. And word gets around the village and the province that person's making a decent wage, and that person's treating some people. And before long, it spreads out, and everybody has this weird sense of entitlement that they are entitled to a piece of the pie. No, they're not. Maybe the direct family members are, you'll help the direct family members out, but certainly someone who somehow knows your cousin from school or something is not really entitled to anything. You can help them out if you want, but they're not really entitled to anything. The better thing you can do is educate people. And that's what I plan to do. That's what I plan to do in the next few years, is to educate people. Because if you educate people, if you give someone a skill, they can then build on that skill, they can get a good high-paying job, and maybe they can leave where they're at, maybe they can leave the third world country they're in, and they can go to a place like Singapore, or a place like Hong Kong, or a place like the US, and they can make decent money and have a good job there, and they can then send money to their relatives through education. That does not happen through handouts. If you give someone a handout, you give someone a chunk of money and say, "Here, get out of here, here's your money," guess what? You build a dependency. It's almost like a drug. They keep coming back. If you educate somebody, they build their own life. They build their own structure. They become independently successful. If you give someone a handout, they do not become independently successful. They expect more handouts and more handouts and more handouts. And eventually, the person who's providing the handouts is going to get completely fed up. And they're going to stop. And you may say, oh, they won't stop and they can't stop and that kind of stuff. But they will stop. They will. Whatever it takes. Maybe the person dies. I'm sure it'll stop then. Hey, people don't make paychecks in that place. I'm sure about that, you know. So it will stop eventually. The handouts will stop eventually. If you're relying on handouts to stay alive or to buy groceries or whatever, you are plain and simply stupid. Get an education, get a better job, climb up the ladder. It's going to be slow. It's going to take time. It's going to take hard work. You're going to have to read a lot of books. You're going to have to practice a lot of things. You're going to have to pitch yourself to companies or whatever you have to do. It's going to be hard. But you will achieve success. You will not achieve success by just pulling handouts all the time. You will achieve dependency. If you achieve dependency, what happens? Well, if those handouts stop, you're going to have some really big time withdrawals. Anyway, that's my take on working abroad and sending money home. If you like this video, click down there, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back with some more. Thank you.